Good evening. I'm Doreen Binder, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Portland, and I'm here along with Holly Schmidt of the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty. And we would both like to welcome you to our candidate forum this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to help citizens make informed choices in elections. We do not endorse candidates or political parties, but rather we give voters the information they need to select a candidate. Membership information is available on our website and at the table at the back of the room, as is information on our co-sponsor, the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty. These forums are brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Portland through their education fund and through generous support from Metro East Community Media, Multnomah Bar Foundation, Paloma Clothing, Sarah Fruing Fund, and the Weiss Foundation. And in addition, we would like to thank Multnomah County for the use of this room. If you have not yet registered to vote, the last day to do so will be April 24th. You can contact the County Elections Office or register online through the Secretary of State. Ballots will be mailed out beginning on April 27th. And now I have the honor of introducing Holly Schmidt from the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty.
Thank you. I am Holly Schmidt, a member of the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty. We are 13 faith-based congregations in Portland, working together to address the root causes and systems that perpetuate the problem of homelessness and poverty. Change almost always begins with having effective, committed political leadership. And to that end, we have joined with the League of Women Voters to sponsor the candidate forum tonight and the 1 and 2 weeks on April 24th. Thank you.
And now to our forum for Metro President. This session will last approximately 20 minutes. I'm your moderator, Debbie Kay, Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Portland, and my question helper is Nancy Donovan, also from the League. Only one candidate for Metro President is joining us here tonight, and we decided to go ahead with that since that candidate had indicated he would be here and did not show up, and our other candidate, Lynn Peterson, who is here, has arrived in good faith. We have timekeepers who will signal a 15-second warning and then stop when the speaker's time is expired. And we'll begin with Ms. Peterson. Hello. 1 minute opening statement, please.
Well, thank you. Thank you to the League and the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty. Much appreciated for this evening. My name is Lynn Peterson. I am running for Metro Council President because somebody needs to be Madam President. So I want to also say thank you to the League of Women Voters for their stalwart support of the Oregon Land Use Planning Program. It's a big part of what Metro does. From 1973, with the adoption of the Oregon Land Use Planning Program, all the way through working on comprehensive plans and then defending it at the ballot and getting information out to the voters. The League has been there and been for strong communities and for citizen involvement all the way through, and so I want to say thank you. I moved here in 1993 from Wisconsin, and I fell in love with a land use planning program that really did really focus on strong communities. And we put a lot of effort in Oregon into citizen involvement and to making sure that we had these strong communities. But I was taught when I got here that we did incremental planning, so we would do about 5 miles of light rail every 5 years. But we're not growing incrementally anymore, are we?
And I'm going to have to ask you to actually adhere to the timing rules because we only have so much time for the evening.
Sorry, I didn't even see them.
Thank you. Our first question, and audience, remember, if you have questions, fill out your cards and bring them, give them to someone standing in the audience. Can you please describe what is Metro's role in increasing housing options for low-income and homeless families and individuals? What more would you do, if anything?
Metro's role, it has two very distinct roles that we need to go towards and really think about. One is that Metro facilitates this region of 24 cities and 3 counties on very difficult issues, including affordable housing. And they have started a conversation over the last few years of just acknowledging the gap. And now the second part is implementation of trying to fill that gap. There is definitely a gap in every city, every mayor I have talked to, every community I am. This is the #1 issue throughout the entire region. So Metro has brought folks together. They're talking right now about what they can do in terms of bringing this to a ballot measure and what types of housing they would focus that ballot measure on. So with any luck, they will come to a conclusion very soon, and I would not take office until January 2019 if elected in May 15th in the primary election, but I will be moving all my time to helping with that ballot measure.
Thank you. Can you give a specific example of a case where you have compromised, and likewise an example where you did not compromise?
Let's start with a not. It's more typical in terms of just sticking to values. I think that what my career has shown is that I'm more focused on outcomes than I am on the journey to get to those outcomes. And I guess that's where I do my compromise. But what I will not compromise is holding to our regional values. And one of the things that I am very, very keen on, the 4 things I'm really focused on for this campaign are keeping our region clean, green, affordable, and equitable. So if we can stick to those values, and every part of our region is different at how they would achieve those values and any performance metrics we would put in place, then I want to have that conversation of how they will achieve it. I'm not going to tell them how, because each community really is unique. Having been chair of Clackamas County, having been a city councilor in Lake Oswego, having worked at the regional level, having run a state Department of Transportation for the state of Washington, I can tell you the politics are different in every community.
Thank you. Of Metro's current or proposed projects, which do you think are the most important and why?
Certainly having this conversation region-wide on affordable housing is the most important at this point in time, because everybody deserves a safe place to live and to raise a family, and an affordable place to live and raise a family. So that's the first thing that we need to focus on, but I don't want to stop there. The second big issue that this region is facing right now is an increase in congestion because of the number of people who are coming here, 90 people a day. And because we are forcing out a lot of people out of the region to live, and that is causing the congestion to really kind of almost double, triple on top of itself, right? Because more people are spending more time trying to get back into the region, to the jobs, to their families, to their shopping and their medical needs. So we need to really work on the affordable housing one first, and then transportation second.
Thank you. What, if anything, do you think needs to be done to improve our zoo? The zoo is one of Metro's responsibilities.
You know, I think the zoo has been working very hard to clarify its mission as conservation, education, and we need to continue in that direction. I think one of the issues that is more on the how do we give more access to more people to the zoo. So we're going to need to look at how we keep costs down while costs are increasing, and the zoo is not as financially stable as we would probably want it to be able to achieve those goals.
Thank you. Audience members, any questions? Write them down. How would you evaluate proposals for urban growth boundary expansion?
Well, there's a very specific process that one has to follow when looking at an urban growth boundary expansion, and it's based on law and precedent. So that's the first thing that we need to do, and the general direction of an urban growth boundary expansion is based on housing need. That housing need is dependent on the population forecasts and any forecasting that Metro has done on any demographics. What I would say, having been a travel demand forecaster at Metro, I like to say I used to model at Metro, they do a really good job on transportation forecasting, but I think we could do better and start to really push the field in terms of housing needs for the future as well as employment needs for the future, so we could get a lot more detailed and look at different scenarios of specific housing types, 0 to 30% of median income, 30 to 60, 60 to 80, and 80 to 120. So we could start really breaking that down and doing a better job of not just single family and multifamily, but what do we actually need within those demographics so that we don't find ourselves in the same spot.
Thank you. This is an audience question about the Columbia River crossing. Can you describe what Metro's, or in the water, shall we say, would be, and what your opinion is of the Columbia River crossing?
I have a very long history with the Columbia River crossing, having been chair of Clackamas County and sitting on the regional transportation policy decision-making body, as well as running the Department of Transportation for the state of Washington, where I actually had to shut down the project because the state Senate decided not to fund it in the budget. It's $180 million of planning that I don't want to go to waste, because there is a bridge that is not seismically safe, and it is the last signal on the entire I-5 corridor. So there are some really good reasons to continue to have this discussion, but we're going to do it in the Oregon way. And that Oregon way is that we're going to look at multimodal, we're going to look at safety, and we're going to make sure that the users pay. So I am fundamentally for making sure that we replace the bridge, but we do it in a way that meets our values.
Thank you. With China's new policies limiting the types of materials it will accept for recycling, what other options would you recommend for reducing the amount of solid waste going to the landfill?
I'm actually, thank you for asking the question the way you did, because a lot of the reporting is that China is no longer accepting our plastics. That is not true. They are only accepting a certain portion, and it's the dirtiest portion of our plastic stream. So it's not all plastics. We are still sending a good majority of them there, but they have decided to clean up their environment, and so kudos to them. So I think the big part of it is, how do we reduce our stream over time? How do we re-educate our citizens of what they can do to help us clean up that waste stream? And then we can also grow our own industries that are already here to be able to accept those recyclables. And Metro has grant programs that they can do that kind of public-private partnership to actually help seed those businesses to grow.
Thank you. What role does Metro have in ensuring regional infrastructure is seismically resilient and that it will protect our people and our economy following an earthquake?
That's a really good question. One of the things that we should talk about as a region is, what does it mean to be resilient? Because there's a lot of different parts of that. One is, are our communities resilient? Because they're going to need to be able to basically stay in place for 2 weeks, right? Depending on where you are in the region, it could be longer. I'm in a red zone. I don't know if you guys know, but you should probably look on the map to find out where you're at. But making sure our citizenry is ready. Then we need to make sure our infrastructure, the key pieces of our infrastructure, are ready to withstand the earthquake, but we can't make sure that all of it is still standing afterwards. So we need to be able to prioritize that, and it is a part of a planning process that I intend to make sure that we kick off and bring the region together and say, so how do we do this? There are funds available through the federal government that we have not accessed yet.
Thank you. Oh, one more. What question do you wish we'd asked? Please go ahead and answer it.
That's a great question. One of the bigger issues that we need to keep our eyes focused on as we move into the future of this region is making sure that every person and every business has a level playing field when it comes to being able to propose on projects. in this region, and that has not been the case. One of the major things I worked on while running the Department of Transportation was making sure that we grew our minority contracting program so that small businesses that are our neighbors actually have the chance to grow and succeed based on the funds that we're putting out, and they don't go to companies out of the region, out of the state, out of the country. So I want to make sure we're focusing on our own and growing our own, and that minority contractors and minority businesses do have that opportunity to grow and succeed in this region.
Thank you. That's it for question. Oh. Okay. Well, our other question is about describing leadership roles you have had, but it seems to me that you have explained those pretty thoroughly. So, have you left any out?
You know, I would just say that this region is undergoing a lot of change, and that is where I do well, is when we need to question traditional methodologies and put them in figure out the outcomes that we want together, and then figure out a new way to get there. And that's what I did at WashDOT, and we were able to get more communities, more projects, meet more safety goals for 20 to 40% less. So it was more cost effective, and we were able to get it to more communities. And that's what I intend to bring to Metro, is that focus on getting more investment into more communities in a more cost effective way.
Thank you. And you may now offer your closing statement.
Oh, I can read the rest of this. Based on my experience in the region, based on where we are as a region, and I mentioned this before, we can no longer afford to think incrementally. We're going to have to think very, very different about how we actually make sure that this region remains clean in its airshed, provides those clean, green jobs for the future, and is still affordable and equitable throughout the region. So I would just encourage you, I ask for your vote, but I encourage you to think about what the needs of the region are, and then as we move forward, offer your thoughts and opinions to me as we move through, because I'm going to be listening, I'm going to be asking for help, I'm going to need a lot of help, and we as a region do not want this community to be a gated community only for the privileged. It has to be for everyone, and for that to work, I need to hear your thoughts, so thank you.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for this panel. We'll have a short break before our next panel, which will be for Multnomah County Auditor candidates. We thank you for participating. We thank the Interfaith Alliance on Poverty for co-sponsoring, Metro East Community Media for recording, and all of our volunteers for helping. Please check our website, lwvpdx.org, to view all of our forums and for television replay information. For more primary information, pick up our nonpartisan voter's guide at the local library, New Seasons Markets, Meals on Wheels Dining Center. Another option is vote411.org. Election day is May 15th. As in all Oregon elections, you will receive a mail-in ballot, and they must be mailed early or delivered to an official drop-off site anywhere in Oregon no later than 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 15th. Postmarks don't count. Thank you for watching. Please be informed, and remember, your vote really matters. Thank you.